Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lakewood City Council Study Session agenda for this Monday, November 10, 2025. This is my fourth in a series of back-to-back meetings, so I'm glad to see all of you. The first item we have for discussion tonight is the Joint Youth Council meeting. And for this, we have our youth council members. Come on up. We got Natalie Lopez, Elijah Staana, and Zoe Clifford, and anyone else who would like to be here with us?
Hello? Oh, sorry. Good evening, Mayor Whalen, Deputy Mayor Moss, and council members. My name is Elijah Staana, and I am a senior at Clover Park and the chair of this year's Lakewood Youth Council. Thank you for having us here tonight to share what our youth council has accomplished in 2025 and what we're planning for 2026. This past year, our youth council focused on community service, leadership, and teamwork. We started the year by volunteering at several city events, including the MLK celebration and the Welcome Walk. Throughout the spring, we hosted two major youth-led events, the Youth Empowerment Summit and the Cook and Craft event at the Tillicum Community Center. Both events gave local teens opportunities to build leadership skills, connect with others, and give back to their community. In August, we held a kickoff event at the Fort Tillicum Pavilion, where members participated in icebreaker games, shared a Chipotle lunch, and got to know one another better. It was a great opportunity to welcome new members, reconnect with returning ones, and set a positive tone for the upcoming year. This year, we also had opportunities to meet with city staff and community members who have supported our projects and events. We appreciate the encouragement and guidance from the City of Lakewood team and the council for helping us continue to grow as young leaders. Now I'll turn it over to Natalie Lopez, our communications manager, to share how we connected with this community and partnered with local organizations this year.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Lopez, and I'm a junior at Clover Park High School. As a communication manager for the Youth Council, I've helped our group stay connected with the community and share the great work that Lakewood youth are doing. In 2025, we focus on building the partnerships and increasing youth engagement throughout the city. Our members volunteered at several community events, including the Lions Club Crab Feed, the Clover Park Technical College Scholarship Dinner, and the Lakewood Multicultural Annual Gala. These experiences help us give the opportunity to connect with the residents, city leaders, and organizations while representing the youth of Lakewood. One of our biggest accomplishments this year was helping to create the Lakewood Youth Academy. We worked alongside Michael Berges to design the class and participate as the first test group during the summer. Our feedback helped shape the curriculum for future sessions, and we're proud that this program will soon expand to include more youth from across the community. The Youth Academy gives students a chance to learn about leadership, civic engagement, and how local government works, all from a youth perspective. Now I'll hand it over to Zoe Clifford, our secretary, to share our 2026 goals and what we're planning next.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Zoe Clifford, and I'm a senior at Tillicum High School, and I'm one of the secretaries of the Lakewood Youth Council. I'll be sharing our 2026 work plan, which builds on everything we've learned in 2025. For 2026, our Youth Council will continue to grow our leadership, strengthen partnerships, and increase youth involvement throughout the community. Our goals include volunteering at city and community events, including Truck and Tractor Day, the Holiday Lights Parade, and the Youth Empowerment Summit. Providing youth perspectives to city advisory boards and committees so young people have a voice in community decisions. Continuing to update City Council on youth activities and initiatives, increasing awareness of the Youth Council through school outreach partnerships and social media, hosting youth-focused events, including the annual Youth Empowerment Summit on April 18th, offering input on topics such as the opioid settlement funds, ensuring youth perspectives are considered in city planning, creating stronger connections with other local youth groups such as Clover Park School District Student Leadership, communities and schools of Lakewood, the Boys and Girls Club of South Puget Sound, and LASA's youth engagement programs to build a united network of young leaders across Lakewood, supporting a new subgroup of 12 youth council members working with Lisa Watt Banks, formerly of Lakewood's Choice, to explore how nature-informed work can improve both our well-being and our environment. This group will bring what they learned back to the full youth council, share it with other youth in the community, and highlight our work at the 2026 Youth Empowerment Summit. Together, our youth council is proud of what we have accomplished in 2025, and we're ready to make an even bigger impact in 2026. Thank you, Mayor Whalen, Deputy Mayor Moss, and council members for your continued support and for giving Lakewood's youth a voice in shaping our city's future. This concludes our presentation, and we're happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you very much. Questions, council members? Mr. Brandstetter and then Mr. Boki.
I guess my first question is in each of your introduction statements. None of you mentioned transportation and the ability for young people to have transportation or to wherever, which has been in past years a recurring theme. Is this still something that you would like to see something that would enhance it, whether you have some ideas? Is it, you're just tired of mentioning it? And does it make a difference? I mean, I know that Pierce Transit has been making efforts to publicize the free fare that's available to folks that are there. They've done less to deal with adjustment of routes. But I will tell you too, the city council is a little bit unsure, or at least this council member is a little bit unsure what we need to be asking for. In other words, knowing we have a problem, it's just that we don't really know what solution young people would like us to advocate for that's fiscally affordable.
Yeah, so I guess like in my 2 years at the youth council and at Lakewood's Promise, transportation has been a big limitation at our events because we've gotten a lot of signatures and people to sign up for our events, but a lot of them don't really follow through with attending because it's either that transportation is an issue or they aren't available that day. And in order to fix one of those solutions, we've talked about transportation time and time again. Last year, we had a member of Pierce Transit. I think they surveyed our group asking what how we could get more youth to be involved in transportation. And even though and they asked us why they wouldn't take public transportation, they said a lot of them did not raise their hands because of the affordability, because they knew that it was free, but the issue was that a lot of them weren't sure about their safety on public transit because it's kind of like you don't as you like your parents tell you like you can't take these buses because you don't know who's going to be on the bus, and it's discouraged a lot of people and from taking these buses. But as for solutions, I remember that we went through Lakewood's Promise and we talked about possible solutions about transportation for the youth. And we were thinking, and this was a discussion between us and Ron Banner about possibly working together with the Superintendent's Youth Advisory Council and possibly making some kind of resolution of having youth council members meet at I'm not sure what it was. I think it was during a meeting, and they were thinking of finding a way to make transport, was it like, it was like transport for making it affordable. Yeah, making it a way so that the Clover Park School District would be able to pay for public transport for students for events. And that way we, that way it wouldn't be fiscally a problem if we had the school district pay for this transportation. But yeah, thank you for the question.
Well, I guess that I would just observe that planners of events, okay? That if you're going to try to incorporate transportation planning into your event, you got to do it well beforehand, because it's not something that you can call, whether it's the school district or Pierce Transit or people that own minivans, at the last minute and get that done, or and advertise it so that people who you want to use it are become aware of it and being able to go through and do that. And I think that, one of the recurring themes that we on the council hear from, both youth and from seniors is events being at times and places that they can get to. And that, so I'd ask you to keep the issue alive and talk about folks who might be able to come up with some kind of creative solutions, and to also take on your advisory role to us about what you think we can do, particularly to address, because transportation has been the most significant recurring theme that has proven elusive to act on. I did want to, congratulate youth in the community on the succession of things that they have looked to put together regarding drug use and opioid use and making folks appear aware of what that's going on. I think that's another thing that is a real success in that area, comes from constant repetition of the theme in different ways. And I would, tell you that as you are able to put forward things about that, to encourage the, the youth in the community to not just be taking care of themselves, but to be working to help peers take care of their things, or to work through problems if they have them, to be able to go and do that. I guess I have one other question, and it's I don't know whether it's criticism. Okay, but I'll characterize it as an observation. The youth council this year is the largest it's ever been. Okay, that speaks to your efforts that over the past couple of youth council cycles of wanting to increase awareness of the youth council and of how folks went to do that. That being said, last year's youth council was large. But it seemed that as the year went on, there seemed to be fewer members participating. I guess the question is youth council, you have some standards for participation, but are you actually put together in your own mind as the leaders what mechanics for enforcing those standards on some members who ghost you.
That's a great question, and that's a totally perfect observation because we've had the same observation over the last 2 years as well. Um, I would say definitely our attendance slows down, especially in the colder months as it did last year.
Mhm.
However, I think a big part of that is school functions like events and stuff like that and school sports. A lot of times our members are busy with school, so you can't get too upset with them. However, I think this year we've cracked down on attendance policies. And as of right now, we have an unexcused and excused policy. I unexcused is two. No, unexcused is excused is two. Okay, our unexcused absences are you're allowed up to 2, and our excused absences you're allowed up to 3. Our excused absences, you have to let us know at least 24 hours in advance of the event that you're gonna be absent. As for our meetings, the same thing as well, 24 hours in advance. And we have kind of implemented this new rule in which if you've missed one of our youth council meetings, then you should try to go to an advisory board meeting. And when you come back the next meeting, you can present to us or fill out a form and tell us that you did show up to one of those meetings and are still participating the way you should. I think it's still a work in process. It's a big group. We're teenagers. I can't blame them too much. I've been there before too, definitely. We all have. But I think with some implementation, and we've all talked about it. Our big group have had discussions about what we think we should do, how we should hold each other accountable. And this year we've been pretty good. Everyone has been really good about speaking to us, letting us know, and being on top of their schedules and working with each other. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'll add on to that. If anyone who doesn't want to participate, there's always going to be someone who's willing to take on the spot. There's always going to be members who are willing to take on the position if someone randomly decides that they can't make it or anything. So we always have those that we can depend on and those who are fully committed to youth council.
And I think we got Mr.
Well,
Bogan.
okay, well, I'm glad that you recognize that, and that if you, if you need some support or some help, if you have to deliver unpopular messages to anyone, feel free to ask the mayor or.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm good at that.
It's glad to speak to people as
Yeah.
he has stepchildren, So, it goes on and on, but anyway, but I was at the school board meeting this evening of where they were, recognizing the different groups of youth that come together, both within schools, within the district, within the city, to be able to go and do that. And I think you should know that there are many in the city that are really appreciative, and that your example helps to expel some of the stereotypical language about young people, so that being a teenager isn't an excuse for being dismissed. Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Mr. Boki.
Well, my questions are along those same lines about the size and how you're splitting up going on the different boards, but you can do it quick and I'll just pass it on.
Anyone else? Questions? Deputy Mayor?
Just a comment, I like your idea of the approved and unexcused, because as leaders, you plan, you need the support. So good job. Lesson well learned. Thank you.
Well, on the transportation side, we should, between the district and maybe Pierce Transit, if there's some major event, we should be able to work through some transportation issues, but notice in advance would be really helpful, and then we can coordinate or try to coordinate as best we can. So Anything else? Oh, Councilmember Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. Have you guys, and this is just for potential for later on, so if you look at for events during the day, during school time, where the buses would be involved, but if it would be sanctioned, like, I know that a lot of job fairs, things like that happen during the day, and it wouldn't be for like a long extended period, but a lot of times that can happen. So I just didn't know if that was an option of anything that you ever have looked at, maybe for future events.
Any last parting shots for us? You guys have done a great job so far this year. Are you having fun? Good. That's the most important thing. Learning something and having fun. Yeah, well, very good. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Now on to homework, right? Next, we have our Joint Public Safety Advisory Committee. Come on up and chat a little bit about the work plan. Comrie and others in attendance, come on up. Good to see you, Ray.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name's Camry Wilson. I am the chair for the Public Safety Advisory Committee, and this is Ray. He's been part of the Public Safety Advisory Committee for how many years?
Too many.
Too many.
I had 12 over in UP before I moved over here.
Mhm.
Okay. Accomplishments for 2025. We had several, well, I should say we had 4 presentations, one, the Neighborhood Association revitalization, and then we had another one from Public Works. We also had a presentation with the Farmers Market and Summerfest prep and parks presentation. We did participate in Truck and Tractor Day, and we attended several of the neighborhood association meetings, so we were definitely focused on being there as much as possible. We also had a lot of obstacles in 2025. Attendance was one. We were meeting quarterly, and several times, we didn't have enough for a quorum. We've had health issues throughout the committee. So it was definitely a challenging year for sure. But we are very optimistic about 2026. We changed our meetings. We're going to be meeting every other month to see if that goes better than how 2025 went. We also had such a great showing from Youth Council this last meeting. There was 8, and it really energized the group. We were excited to see all of them attend. When we were at Truck and Tractor Day, we probably had more traffic to our booth than we ever had. I need to give credit to my 10-year-old son who was dressed up in a big blow-up dinosaur outfit.
Nice.
But it was helpful and it attracted a lot of people to our booth. We also had Youth Council come and volunteer some hours to sit there at the booth and listen to the community. And one of our new committee members also came and participated in Truck and Tractor Day. So that was pretty amazing. Plans for 2026, again, we're really going to focus on attendance with the various neighborhood associations. We're also going to increase our collaboration with Youth Council. At this last meeting, we really did, discuss their expectations of us, and then also, volunteer and community service hours, how it could benefit them. And so I definitely feel like they were engaged. We're also going to have some presentations from the Marine Services Unit of the police department, which we haven't had that yet. So I think that's going to be a great presentation. And we're also going to finalize our 2026 work plan. Again, 2025, we were meeting quarterly, and there was a shift and, within the Lakewood Police Department. And so, as much as I want to say we didn't feel it, it was there. And so I feel like, we're still putting together our 2026 work plan. Any question? Oh, we did our elections too. So, Marie signed up for another 3-year term, and we got 3 new committee members. And so,
Great.
I'm really excited about looking forward into 2026.
Well, very good.
Thank you.
Well, I will start off with a question just on the neighborhood association meetings. How do you envision making those as informative in two-way street sort of communication as possible? And what can we help you to help make them better for your time and effort and energy?
I think when we go, they're more curious about who we are and what our role is there. And they allow us time to speak about various things. And this is where we can promote Code Red. We can talk about, the Citizens Academy, even the CERT program through West Pierce Fire, anything that comes across our desk, or if we have a presentation about, they allow us time to talk about that.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions, Mr. Boki?
So thank you for being here. Couple of questions. You bring up PSAC, PSA's traffic safety. And this is actually a much bigger issue. Actually, one of my day job at the county, they have the whole Vision Zero thing. I assume we're involved in that. What kind of things did you look at or talk about when it came to traffic safety?
Well, the traffic safety, this came up from a new member, a new committee member about, right there in that historical district with the beautiful lights hanging over, there's I don't want to necessarily, there's like a car group or a car club
Yeah.
that's going there, and this committee member lives in that general area. And this was she joined the committee to, be more knowledgeable, and then also, to highlight her concerns within the community. So this is something really new, and I'll have more later for you on that.
You mentioned the CERT program and Code Red, which I think I'm looking around here, like, am I the only one that doesn't know what
Yeah,
a
probably.
Code Red? I mean, I've watched the movie where they talk about a Code Red, but what's Code Red? Are we supposed to have that on our phone?
I would recommend that you do.
Okay.
Code Red is basically an alert system, and there's various alerts that you could sign up for. So like I live in Stillicum, I've signed up for the Stillicum alerts, but then I also get Lakewood because I work here. But then there's also like Pierce County alerts, and basically it lets you know in the event of any emergency. When we had that wildfire last year, Fort Stillicum, they called my work phone, they texted my phone. I made all my employees sign up for it too, and alerts are just going off. But it's basically a notification to let you know if Mount Rainier blew, any type of natural disaster, wildfire. It kind of alerts you if there's an evacuation.
Okay, so I'm on PC Warren or whatever.
It's very similar, yeah.
But it's different?
It's Lakewood.
It's a localized
Mhm.
version. Okay. How do I sign up? Okay, thank you. There, she's finally
There's a
had
link.
it.
We'll get a link sent out to all of us.
With
Yeah.
this guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
West Pierce has spoken. Mr. Brandstetter.
Yeah, to just comment a bit more on traffic safety, and particularly the council has heard in our public comments to us, citizens that have voiced concerns about driver behavior
Mhm.
in a variety of ways. It's either speeding or discourtesy or other things to do that. And that there's driver behavior is one that, first of all, people sort of assume, well, the police department will enforce all of those things. But there were some folks who came and spoke with us and that indicated that if there were to be put together a community group to discuss ideas about how to positively influence driver behavior in the community, that they'd be willing to participate. They weren't real specific about exactly how that would be organized or do that, but they were talking more about a community-wide type group of folks that would get together and maybe meet for, I interpreted it like they would meet 3 or 4 times and then come up with some recommendations as to how the city might contribute to that, being able to go and do that. And then the other PSA thing, which is there, is that I continue to frequently get many comments from people telling me that other people don't know how to drive in traffic circles. So that I think that's something that bears repetition, but that it also is an issue about not just how to drive in them, but the positive value of traffic circles, the significant lessening of accidents and accident severity at intersections with traffic circles as opposed to what was there before, and the environmental benefit of traffic circles of eliminating lines of idling cars for 30 to 60 seconds to be able to go and do that. So as you're looking at your PSA menu, selling the benefits of traffic circles is perhaps something that, while it is tangentially a public safety thing, the impact of traffic circles is greatest on safety in reality, to be able to go and do that. But I appreciate your work and of looking for ways for us to do things other than just say, well, for every public safety problem, we'll send a police officer. We just can't do that.
Is there anything that you would like from us looking into 2026?
Well, I guess if you would think about wanting to put together some community discussions around driver behavior and what might be done, and it would plan some sort of event that the public could come and express their ideas or concerns, hopefully both. I think that would be something that would be welcomed by some in the community and would participate and might lead to initiatives that we might not think of.
I think he's actually seeking your group do a TikTok video to teach folks how to drive in the traffic circles, perhaps.
I'll sign Ray up for that.
Exactly. That would be good for Ray to do. Be good. Anything else? Questions? Well, Ray.
With the chair's permission, unscripted comments. It has been more difficult the last year or two, the participation part. And I don't know the days present or absent. I may lead the band to being gone, but I was training surgeons and doctors to fix low back and replace body parts that expired and stuff. So I wasn't there as often as I would expect to be. We had a spotty attendance by the youth. For me, that was very disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
I got 10 grandkids. I'm prompting them all the time to talk about what's on their mind. I said nothing. It's kind of like they say, nothing's too simple, nothing's wrong. And when they aren't there, you don't get the spontaneous opportunity as things come up. And I think it's a valuable communication and content that we're missing. I'm a big believer in if you get things done right down here, they grow up to be right up there, better folks. And so I miss that. I'm very active in the grandkids, got 4-year-old to 18, one's graduating. So I regret that part. I would like to say, and Mike was the council representative in a couple of my cycles and excuse me, we've got Tristan he's not asleep at the wheel. See, sometimes it looks like people aren't participating. Oh, it's on my calendar. I had to get here and I'm going to try to do my reading while I'm there. But he's paying attention to what's going on. He faithfully takes our questions forward and brings back stuff.
Good.
I know when Mike was our liaison, he was not shy at all. Sergeant Major will ask you questions. He'll put you on the spot kindly. And he brought things because we kind of challenged him. Some of us are sitting here not knowing what the council wants. Council appointed us. I've been experiencing all the way through. I've been doing this forever, it seems. When Alan Hart left the group, I kind of became the dean of the train. But getting the feedback or the new initiative, except for very bad problems in the community, I mean, we're a conduit. And when I was on the public safety over there, they made that they used a tragic process to start the infection of the roundabouts that the fire trucks couldn't turn in, the school buses couldn't make. So they had to I told the mayor, I said, send that down to us. Let us analyze stuff, get some feedback. I mean, we'll have to Shanghai them. If it goes wrong, blame us. If it goes good, take credit. But it's a shame. I think we lost a lot of time. I've had the same challenge over here. And I know all of you pretty well, except for Patty. And I go out and embarrass some people by saying, what can you tell a designated conduit of information for the city council? If you got to talk about the worst stuff, fine. It's always good to hear what's working so we don't screw it up. As Comrade found out, I got through with John Caulfield, who just left, retired, acceptance of a jacket and a cap. And it's a long process getting the city to accept what could a logo be on the patch, but it was an interesting experience. But I got a set of those things done and we had changes in membership. It was going to be, I had no way to compel it to be paid for. And I'm not sure I would have been wise as a taxpayer because of so much turnover, but I had a set made. And I went over to Clover Park on a couple of those city council, coordinated events. And I walked around with that and I asked questions. It's very hard to get any, they look at you if you're in plain clothes. Gosh, are you a scammer? Are you picking my pocket while we're talking or whatever? And even if it's a made up, logo, you get to have the talk for a while. When the carts, the store carts were all over the city and all a problem, and even the Peace Act couldn't get underway. So I went around for 2 weeks and I went to every store and I interviewed whoever couldn't run faster than me in management and said, what do you do with your carts? And I found out, they lost the trucks that were doing freelance stuff and some of them charged a fee and how much they cost. I said, that's a lot of money to lose these things or have them broken, and got it done. But the group we got now is nice. I'm impressed with the council contribution is great. You get the chief of police often sitting there. You got senior West Pierce leadership. Mary Dodge got people who I'm presuming are rewarded somehow, paid or comp time or whatever. I said, we're sequestering. I said this at a couple meetings back. We're sequestering these people. I'm excited to see them here because we got where the buck stops but we're not optimally using it. And that doesn't mean I think you should be harassed, but besides me, there was spotty attendance and then there was nearly none with the youth. We had several meetings canceled by a polling beforehand about getting a quorum. And I just think I'm a taxpayer. So some of those folks are getting paid tax bucks. They're good. Some other places I wish they didn't show up, but here you get good people. And I just think it's a tremendous opportunity lost to not claw out some of the things that are going on. And like the young people, I hear some of them comment about their public transportation and they feel intimidated by what's going on in our environment. I know the police, I feel the police are doing everything they can do by the rules they have to work by. But so for me, sitting and see it year after year after year, I think it's still regrettable, even in UP. When I first got to UP, they called the public safety advisory, it was cops. Just the term was a little threatening to the weak of mind in UP. So you go to PSAC and they all stutter trying to say PSAC, but it got them into another feeling about what you're trying to do between the managers, operators of the government and the citizens. So I'm old enough and I still can move kind of fast. I can duck it if they want to take a shot at me, but I kind of chide some of them and say, you know, come on, you're going to talk up fine if something really important to you isn't there. How about becoming involved? Feed us some ideas when they're small enough to take care of. And it came out a little bit, but since I moved to Lakewood, I've been very impressed with the city. I mean, I don't always agree with everything, but gosh, that's real life. But you do a very responsible job of picking people, giving us a place to meet and maybe guiding some of your senior staff to come there and be available to us. And I think it's really underutilized. I really can't explain this year. The chemistry in the group for us, the committee members it just didn't seem to catch. And I think, you know, we'll work on that for the next thing. You have to be, as you know, you have to be careful what you do with people who are not paid to give up in the evening and maybe work a little bit. But maybe we can raise the temperature a little bit and cause them, maybe a simple saying, there's no bad idea. There's nothing strange. Alan Hart had so much experience. He often kind of fired that up and kind of count on Alan to come back on it. I think we got more people that can bring the other thing was the members generally are quite a collage of different experiences. I just look at it and say, what an amazing opportunity. We got these people that work for the city that are in key positions. We got a pretty good bunch and we are missing a little bit the youth thing, but maybe I was impressed. These folks here tonight
Yeah.
sounded
Good people.
energized.
Well, maybe something we just need to be mindful that everyone who volunteers for these positions wants real work to do. They want to do something substantive and make it of value for them as well as for the community. So we just need to make sure that we're providing feedback. I personally think that the engagement on the neighborhood association meeting structure that is invigorated for us as well this year, where Chris Davis has really worked hard to develop more neighborhood associations. That will just be of benefit to your group and from you to the neighborhood associations as we do a better job of providing information so that there can be a conduit back and forth. So we're getting that structure in place. I think that'll make your role even more important and more satisfying.
Well, and
That's
aside
the
from
hope. Yeah.
becoming a city, I at least feel there was a fair amount of change. City manager was going to retirement,
Yep.
a new police chief, you know, a lot of structures, the
Oh, yeah.
community meeting structure reoriented.
Mhm.
So maybe that's all building to where it's going to become very fluid and so I think there's optimism there, but she's chaired while we had unusual absences and didn't have some of the tools that might have been offered to her as a chairman.
Well, we'll just hope for a robust year. But we appreciate your work and your help and your voice in the community and certainly let us know. You can always reach out to any one of us, you know how to find us. And bring information to us or ask us, hey, is there something that we need to know about? We're going to X meeting or Y meeting, you know, something new or different, or is there a concern that we should communicate to the residents? That would be good. Michael Vargas and I think Chris communicate pretty well on those aspects together. So lean on them as well, but certainly lean on us or these people, because I'll be part of that change that you've talked about come January. So. Yes, Preston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ray Comrie, I just wanted to say something real quick, and I appreciate you guys coming in and your comments. The whole advisory committee has been really valuable in serving as the engagement point for educating and informing people all around the city about what our police and fire do. And you serve as the liaison between our police and fire folks in the community and council. And I think you guys have done a great job of that. I'm excited that youth council is more active in the last meeting, and hopefully that continues going forward. And then you talked about hats and shirts and that kind of stuff. It's been a topic for a while, and I know it got brought up with council and we approved a budget for it. So I think it's just a matter of getting a list of what you want to city staff, and we can make it happen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again for coming. Yeah, you bet. Once in a while. Thank you very much. Okay, so next we have some really nice people. Our Partners for Parks friends who are coming to chat with us a little bit about the H-Barn Restoration Project. Come on up. Allie and Sally. Yeah. Sit down. Yeah. So good to see you all. You want to introduce yourselves real quick for the listening public, and then we'll let you give us the update.
Hallie McCurdy with Partners for Parks. Sylvia Allen, Partners for Parks. Sally Saunders, Partners for Parks.
I believe our city manager is part and parcel to this conversation. Oh, there he is.
Yep.
There he is.
I just slid right in.
Yeah, you did.
Open the door. So this is a follow-up from a previous council meeting where it kind of came with the results of the 30% design study and potential options. That led to a lot of questions. Recommended that we just kind of regroup and talk about the scenario of what we are or where we are, address some of the discussions that emerged at that council meeting. And really, I think the goal of tonight, and hopefully I'm getting the overall collective thoughts, and feel free to correct me where I veer off, is just to identify and get the common ground and what next steps are, where we're going forward, how that would work. So we met twice with the group and just kind of looked at, the different interests related to this project and how things have evolved over time. Some of the questions that, popped up from the meeting were, one, obviously, how do you manage the cost increase that was there? How does that fit in with everything else going on in the city? Also, what are the interests of the fundraising campaign and some of the opportunities, challenges related to that? And so it's really just trying to get everything out on the table of what common interests were, common ideas, clarification of different concepts. And a lot of the stuff was, from the meeting was, okay, what is the use and utility? And so we spent a lot of time trying to identify, okay, what is the desired outcome of the renovation? And we talked about, well, does it be 100% historical? And I think the collective idea was that that renovation of the project, moving forward, that it wouldn't have to be the 100% restoration, but just a renovation of it that captures the essence of the H-Barn project, of it as it is now, or in the historical sense that when you drove by, it still looked like the H-Barn, but to really do a project that would enhance the functionality, the utility, the utilization of it, but didn't have to necessarily meet that 100% restoration with all the old materials, which may ease on the cost of that component, knowing that even with that cost increase, going to have to find a significant infusion of dollars in terms of moving it forward, but that it doesn't hurt to continue on that project in anticipation of that opportunity, because over the years, those opportunities sometimes emerge, and having a prepared project in place sometimes makes it easier to get those potential funding avenues that come forward. And some of the discussion was on the utility of it and business planning related to it, and the utility as relates to it. And I think some of the common thoughts of it is, there's some of the discussions as, temporary use for a multi-use facility, for some of the programming for youth or senior center. It could definitely be a utility of it. Probably would not be a huge revenue generator, in all honesty. The revenue generation would likely come from larger events, larger activities. But per the discussions, that is probably outside the Partners for Parks responsibility and domain. You know, when it comes forward, that'd be something more, that'd be an internal staff discussion to bring forward of, okay, how to best maximize that use. You talked about discussions of, okay, where do we go from now? And I think if it's still the feeling of Partners for Parks is they'd like to continue on to get the full design of those parameters of how can you maximize the efficiency of the restoration along with that utility, and on the interior, if you remove those posts and what all can be done. Knowing that, okay, you could potentially get to 100% design, which would create really the platform if a revenue source did emerge. You know, that was part of our policy platform discussions on the federal agenda, is the potential for a ask from that avenue to go along with some of the fundraising efforts that were already done. We also sectioned out a standalone project for silo restoration on the state platform. So some of those things that you can do should that funding avenue arise. But in the end, you'd have a completed plan to move forward if those did. That would allow Partners for Parks to continue on that mission that they've been working on for the past few years of moving forward. But yet with the understanding that, yeah, we're going to have to find some additional revenue source to support that beyond that initial 7 to 7.5 million. That was of the understanding. So I think the desire here today is to kind of finish that discussion, to really have the understanding that, you know, Partners Parks would like to move forward with that 100% design work that would create some concrete numbers, create a plan in place, knowing though that probably going to have an additional funding source to move forward to put this in there. So with that, I think is a good opportunity to open up the discussion, and I would ask if I captured our discussions accurately or if I missed anything, please feel free to enhance that aspect.
No, I think you captured everything that we talked about. And I think as Partners for Parks, we just want to find a way forward. That's our goal, is to keep this project moving and to have like an actual, you know, facility at the end that everybody can utilize.
So could be a fairly quick update in relation to it, but I think the end goal is just to get on common ground of, okay, where are we headed into the future and what may that look like? So I think it'd be a good opportunity to open up for potential council discussions as part of the dialogue as well.
It'd be kind of nice to know what the cost will be to get from 30% design to sufficient design. Usually it's 60%, right? Before you can really get decent bid numbers.
Yeah, and I don't know if, David, do you have that number of what that estimate is? Yeah, I know it is all under the contract that we had with Grand Baba. Yeah.
Grand Baba.
Design firm. So that they had that initial contract that had the 100% design with it, with a potential stop anywhere along the lines if there was a halt to the project. So that was already identified, and through funding that Partners for Parks had already been able to generate.
Right. So do you guys have enough funds to get to that point of the work? I think there was, you guys are about 2.7, 2.8, right?
Yeah, I mean, it gets us to the design, the design work, the money
Yeah.
that we have currently.
Okay. And then the question is what next, right? Yeah. So I know on our agenda tonight, I'm going to open it up. I'm sorry, I'm chatting too much here, but we do have the lodging tax funding allocations. I think there's a $2 million capital recommendation toward the project, as you all know. Where that takes us from there, that's why we're here.
Yeah, and some of it really is undefined. I mean, we don't have that gap component between the others. You know, some of the talk was 2 million in lodging tax. This round, maybe 2 million in next. That gets us to about 7.5 million of the total project. You know, we looked at potentially 7.5 or 3.5 as a federal ask, which would put it around $11 million.
Great, yeah.
At that point, you're getting pretty close where then maybe you look at potential the Pierce County lodging tax, or even bonding off a potential lodging tax into the future, similar to the McGavick Center. At least if you end up with that big chunk, which is granted, it's not 100% guarantee. In fact, sometimes a little bit of a challenge, but.
Does this kind of design work yield itself to a state capital heritage fund grant too, like Lakewood Gardens was able to get? They were working on the carriage house at some point and they were able to secure a fairly significant state capital heritage grant. I don't know if this project would qualify for that based upon where it's going with the design, but
Yeah, I think you look at any potential avenue.
Of course, yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
specifically say if it would or if it wouldn't qualify for
Mhm.
that specific program. But, you try and create at least
another $1 million.
opportunities that, open up whatever
Mhm.
you can.
Yep. Well, open it up. Should we just go around from left to right? What do you want, Mr. Branstetter and then Ms. Bell?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm supportive of when we talked before of, having a project that is completed and not one that's phased. Phased projects are always, seem to get half done. My favorite phased example is Hipkins Road, which they did, and then 18 years later, we went back and finished it. So to do that. I think we should have a goal of at least deciding what's the final project going to look like. And that, and what are the essential restorative elements of a final project, and what are the essentially utilitarian, and then begin to work towards that combination to be able to go and do that. And while I still don't like to say that we're doing this in phases, I also understand that you have to do it over a period of time if funding is that way. Although I would be very interested in getting to the point of where we have a real fiscal goal of how much money it will take, and of doing what we've done with roads, of being able to get roads done sooner rather than later, of bonding the cost, but knowing from the beginning what the cost you need to bond is, not just going ahead and do that. One of the things that I think that we need to stop trying to tell the community is we need to tell the community clearly what this facility will be in its role for them. I think that we're fooling ourselves if we try to say it can be a venue for events, but that it could also be a pseudo community center, youth center, being able to go and do that. Community centers, youth centers are things that need to be like fully staffed and be done and do things. And I think that the council has been pretty clear that particularly a new senior or community center ought to be centrally located in the city at a public location route to be able to go and do that. So I don't think this project is that. It can be a place for spot events for seniors and spot events for youth, but not the hub of senior and youth activities. So my view is that I think that, as the mayor suggested, that we take a look to make sure that we have the funding to get to a significant percentage of design to where we can envision then a facility that is going to be the amenity that we want for the community. And then work on the as much other people's money as we can get, but also recognize that if it's really worth having, then we're gonna have to spend some of our own, and that bonding and spreading that cost out over years, if we can, as long as we can see that the debt service is going to be manageable. I mean, that's a revenue question. I mean, we have got plenty of bonding capacity technically, legally. But it's a debt service that's not that. You don't want to bond things that then you can't make the debt service to the detriment of other things. But I think that, you know, let's move forward and let's not try to do that. I guess my just other comment that just sort of bothered me is that we always talk about this as the H-barn project. And yet the final design that we were showed is a U-barn. It's a U-barn because you're going to fill in one of the sections of the H on the front side. That was the design that came forward to us.
I was hoping for W barn, but.
But it's a question. I think we should have some resolve and come up with a vision, work towards getting things designed. But then we need to be forthright in how we sell this project to the community and tell them what it is it's going to be and what it's going to be, and not what it's not capable of being. But I'm certainly open to a variety of ways to find the funding and to even and being innovative to do that.
Councilmember Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to back it up and just at the basic level, what we're looking at is you want to spend some money for the design that would tell us about how much it's going to be, and then we would look for the money. Is that what?
Well, you know, we initially, I mean, so the design work's under contract already.
Yes.
It just kind of paused at that
Right.
30% when we had the last discussion. It's really just continuing on with that. You know, we would anticipate, you know, looking for the federal appropriation as
Mhm.
well while that's being finalized. Just didn't want to, the idea was not to delay that.
Not to stop
design.
the design,
Yeah.
to keep the design going.
Correct.
And then there would be a number that would come from that. And then
Eventually.
we would look eventually, once things were decided on of what the building was going to be, but it would give us a better idea. And then from there, then it would be into the creative financing, correct? Looking for how this would be, where the money would be coming from.
Well, it could also occur in tandem. You know, the idea would be the design would go forward, you know, looking at that overall, you know, maximizing the space itself and the utility of it and the efficiency of the construction, you know,
Right.
what's the best way to go about that? It wouldn't preclude us from looking at, for example, a federal request for funding while that's finishing up. There is a benefit to having a final design because you'd be able to identify the costs that much
Right.
stronger. You know, no matter where you end up with that federal ask in terms of where it's at. We have a general idea at the 14 million for the full project. That would refine that number.
So basically, it's like a 7 million gap right now. If we have 7-ish now, and if we're estimating 14, so we're looking for funding about 7
yeah.
eventually, possibly, but in the ballpark of that.
Yeah, you know, and if you end up with, let's say we were fortunate enough to be awarded, you know, a $3.5 million, let's just say that, you know, that puts us around that $11 million area, which, you know, one of the options was a little bit over 11 million if you reduce the landscaping. Still created the full structure, which I think is the important part, getting to Councilmember Brandstetter's aspect of, then you have the full project, but, you know, maybe you would just flesh out that landscaping at a later point or that opportunity for bonding off to
In the
finish that
phasing.
aspect.
But you was talking about the different phasing.
Oh, well,
Well, I wanted to know about that too, what we were talking about. Because you wanted to I get about the different pieces and parts and landscaping and what could be done and what couldn't be done. But then how we were talking about the restorative versus the utilitarian portion of it, that would be the phase that would,
no.
no,
Um,
okay.
The project would be built, or it would be designed as a one phase. At the last council meeting, we offered 3 different options. You know, one of them was, you know, essentially cutting off that south end or one section of it completely. Another one, a potential phase-in project, where in reality, you'd have the structure, maybe you've refinished some of the interior at a later point. I think the idea is to have a project incomplete that you would build. I'm just saying you could have the option of reducing some of the landscaping on the initial cost and
Got
build
it.
that in later,
I see what you're saying.
which would be somewhat of a, I don't want to confuse that phasing
Yeah,
with the
that's-
phasing that Councilman
It could be
Brandstetter was
phased,
asked about.
yes. Got it. Sorry
But-
about
but
that.
You don't want to do half a building or 3/4 of a building. You do want to do the full building. I'm just saying if we ended up with, say, $3.5 million in an appropriation, well, then maybe you look at, okay, what is that gap of another 3 million? Is it just landscaping? Is it perimeter stuff?
Got it.
Or is it something that needs to be added in terms of it? I'm just saying if you ended up with another $3.5 million, it opens up a lot more options.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure my fellow council members will have other questions that will.
The design where we're at now, getting to 60%, is that going to be with an eye with the Boba Baba, Hubba Bubba firm, whoever it is? Is that going to be with some guidance and direction that we want to maximize the most efficient design in lieu of price-conscious construction methods? In other words, not necessarily historical preservation, because that comes with a price tag that may be here as opposed to a really good utilitarian design that's completely construction of the building to be fully functional, but not necessarily with every wood beam sanded down and smoothed to, bring back its historical significance, whatever, that kind of a thing. I want to make sure that design people have some leeway to do something that's, I don't want to say value engineering, but makes sense in light with utility, but the cost of construction.
Yeah, I think it's, my takeaway is a design and construction methodology that maximizes efficiency of the
Right.
construction process, but still maintains character and
The
nature
effective
of the
design,
H bar.
yeah, that we want, yeah. Well, that front entry too, that was attractive and new and, view corridors, that was at least on the initial designs we saw, I think people like that. But, okay. This side of the aisle,
Thank you.
Deputy
Mr.
Mayor.
When we first started this process, we had great hopes. The economy was going pretty good. So we had no doubt that we could make it. The thing that concerns me is that each year it's going to get higher and higher. So we need to, doing the design, I think is a great idea to get that out of, to show the public that we're still working toward that. But we're going to have to find a way to get something tangible, kind of to show the public exactly what it's like, what it can do and how it's going to benefit the community, because it will be once the design that's there, it's going to be great for the community, but getting there is going to be a challenge. So I support it, whatever we can do and however we can do it. As we go forward, there may be other organizations that will step up.
I think that having the actual, like the 100% design, I think is going to help us in our fundraising as well, because people are going to see, okay, council's behind this, they're moving forward, like they're good with this. So as soon as I feel like we get the go ahead from you guys that, hey, like we're still committed to this project, we can then go out and ask our donors to
Step up.
maybe provide more than what they did before, or people who haven't donated yet because they're not sure of where this is going, maybe they'll actually step forward. So I think that it'll give us some leverage in asking for more donations as well.
Great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
There are also several of the donors, the big donors, who will not give us the full amount that they have pledged until they see that we have gone to different levels of design. So it's imperative for us to keep moving so that that money continues to come in.
And the other thing with the design, if we sit down and we say, this, and this, and then you look at it and you go, well, but we need da, da, da in here. So we need that input.
Right.
So that we don't do something that we think is really good, but you all might think, oh, this might be better, because we've had that happen and it's nobody's fault. It just, it makes it a little more tricky.
That's a great question, Sally. So where are the touch base opportunities as we go from 30% design to 60 and 90?
Ability to somewhat define them, would you like Partners Parks to come back at 60%, at 70, 80, whatever point, to make sure that concept is still moving forward under that line, which is not, well, I'm sure it's a perfectly acceptable activity between the two bodies.
And I think it's also been very beneficial that we've been meeting with the city manager on a regular basis too, just to, make sure we're still on the same
Absolutely.
page. So I think
Yeah.
that's been helpful. I
Very
appreciate
helpful.
that. Mhm.
Yep.
So that was basically what I wanted to get out.
All right, well, you guys answered most of my questions in that last second right there. Which is awesome. I appreciate that. But so first off, when we go through design reviews and this sort of thing, the reason we have the 30%, the 60%, the 100% is so that we can course correct and make changes if it's not in line with what council wants or what Partners for Parks wants. Have we gotten enough input to move from 30% to the next phase yet? Or are we at risk of getting out of connection with what we want?
I feel like we've got a pretty good understanding of like, we want a facility that can be both an event center and a utilitarian place with classrooms and things that other things in the community can happen there as well. It doesn't just have to be a wedding venue. I mean, that was never our intent or our dream to just have a venue. It was a place where the community could come and gather, whether it's a soccer team who's like, they've got their game there that day, but maybe they want to have their banquet someplace. Like,
Right.
I mean, it can be utilized for so many different things. You could have senior classes there, or yoga, tai chi. I don't care what you have there, but there's a million different uses for it.
Multi-use.
And that's
Yep.
multi-use, multi-generational, and I just think we need to like think bigger than this. It was never intended to just be a wedding
Right.
venue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I appreciate that for sure. You talked about donors having contingent their funds to certain design levels. Are there specific timelines that we're at risk of losing funding if we don't have something in the next week, in the next 6 months? How is that structured? Okay, that makes sense.
Whether that beats anything or not. But again, it's been a reasonable amount of time. Some of these people have committed quite some time ago.
Right, right.
So that's not an unreasonable.
And most of them just ask us to provide updates of where we're at
Mhm.
with the project. So we've been, meeting all of those deadlines to make sure that we can continue to be on their list for funding.
Right, makes sense. Have we made any commitments to donors in terms of design? In that, do they have any contingencies about what they want to see in this building, or is it open to?
No,
Okay,
no,
that's good.
We just said we wanted to store it on.
yeah. Turn it into an event center.
Right.
We have shown them the concept pictures and we've talked about what our usage plans are. But they have not given us any requirements and we have not really nailed anything down specifically.
Okay, that's great to hear. And then my last thought is, I understand the urgency, wanting to move forward, getting design work done. But we also are gonna have a new parks director here in a few weeks. We're gonna have 2 new council members in 8 weeks. We have a new city manager. We're gonna have potentially different perspectives that may have input on this as we go forward. So I'm not sure if we're ready to commit to march forward with the rest of the design work yet, or if if it makes sense to wait just a little bit longer. I'm not sure. I'll leave the rest of that to council to discuss.
I'll turn that back to Mr. Russell in a minute, but Mr. Boki, did you have a comment first?
Yeah, I do want to follow up on what Tristan was talking about because I had that here in my notes. So, but to lead up to that, I'm looking at a decision tree, right? So you came in here with the concept of the barn renovation. We did the 30% design. It's $14 million. We all gasp. So we start talking about alternatives. So if we go to 60% design, and I think he understood his questions better than I, but if we go to 60% design, are we too far down one road? At what point do the designers need to know what is it that you people want? Right? Is it like, hey, we're gonna take the boards off, put them onto the side, redo them, put them back on after we make this seismically sound, and it's a 14 or $15 million project? Or are we taking those boards, we're basically taking the barns down except for some historical features and really rebuild them for a 10 or 12 million? That's my first question. So where is that decision made when you're talking to the designers? I mean, if we're gonna keep feeding them money, are they gonna go back and say, well, this is what you have to do with an old barn that had cows in it, rather than just, okay, this is what we can do for you and make it look like the barn that it was?
Yeah.
So go ahead and answer that question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow up. on
I
this
think
other.
I would lean into city staff to make those decisions, right? Like this is ultimately, it's a city-owned property. This is your property. We're just trying to like, get us to the goal of having
Okay.
this really cool, venue that we can utilize for multiple things. So I'm gonna lean into city staff to make some of those decisions, as long as it kind of meets the intent that we've talked about. I'm gonna lean into them on design. That's not.
Have misled anybody about the funds that they've given us.
Correct. So that leads me to the follow-up.
You guys have- Yeah, it's your building. It's your building.
That leads to
And
a
it's your
follow-up
program.
of Treston's question about donors. So they bought into, so everybody has a different idea of renovation, I think. I might have a different idea of renovation. And now I'm worried that they might be renovation restoration. Thank you. Do we hold those folks? Number one. Number two, there is barn money available at the state. There's a separate account. But I don't see that the amounts are very large. They're not as much as what he's talking about out of the heritage accounts. But they may have strict standards like, oh, you got to keep the whole thing, and we might not be eligible. And maybe that's not a bad thing, right? Because if we're going in a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it's necessarily a different direction. Even if you look at the original designs that James Guerrero put together, like it was really just kind of maintaining the essence of the barn. Like the inside was all like up to date, and like even the original, if you look at like way back to the original designs that we had, it was updating it. It wasn't like just, maintaining this barn and keeping a dirt floor and adding some, I mean, that wasn't what it was initially.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, we're trying to make sure that we have like a historic type barn venue, but recognizing that you have to update it. You can't, like, there's a reason why we can't hold events in there today. It's because it doesn't meet any code, right?
Right.
So we have to make sure that it does all of that.
So I would say to the programming piece, we don't need to overprogram it and we don't need to overthink the programming. We either want to restore it into, and I get it, that there should be some spaces that if a company wants to have a retreat or the council wants to have a retreat, we can go there and have a nice thing, but there needs to be a grand room. But we really don't need to overprogram it. We don't have to love this thing to death and figure out where do seniors fit in it and where does youth fit in it and where does I think you can overthink these things a little bit, but I still do worry about the costs. I still think it's a great project. Think we need to find a path forward, and I'm actually, if we can find a path forward that gets us into a certain range of money, I think we can get there.
Yep.
So depending on how much you raise and how much, and at some point we're gonna have to bond it, but how much what that's gonna look like and what we're willing, and that's the next discussion, right? What we're willing to sacrifice to be able to bond that in the LTAC is a question the council's gonna have to make.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I just have a question. How did we get to how did it get to the point where it was like a wedding venue? How did we get there? What did we start off with? Because I know it wasn't that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest. I have no idea how, because all of the materials that we've provided like throughout the years have actually always said it was like, a multifunctional kind of venue. So I don't know how we got to
I
that.
think that was a Dave Betts comment.
Because
Yeah.
the McGavick Center is
Yeah.
more expensive.
Mhm.
And while you might need that kind of space, for some, but another place where people could hold a family reunion, they could,
And that's how you,
those kinds of things and different, you could have a Christmas market in there maybe or something, I mean,
Right. Winter
it
market.
could be whatever y'all wanted to do.
yeah, but you didn't, when you went to your donors, that wasn't a spiel. You just gave like a multi-use.
Yeah, it
Project.
was around economic development, creating a venue, like, and renovating a historic barn and creating space for community to do great things, whatever that may be.
This wedding thing came
So
from.
I don't know where that came from. I'll be honest, because all of the materials we have,
I know,
That's
but
all.
that's what's out there.
I know,
Yeah.
I don't get
Mhm.
it. I don't know why. I don't know what happened.
That was just a question that I had.
That's what people think of.
Right. There's some barns up north in the Redmond area that are used like that and those kinds of things. Yeah. Mr. Branson.
And, we're somewhat responsible for that, in that when we asked the question about what kind of events would be there, where we're sort of looking at what would be there. And it was the same when we began to construct the pavilion with the Rotary. That, well, the easiest example that people always put forward was, well, people will get married there. Okay, and because that was a gathering that generally people paid for, that was the thought. Now, that hasn't, I could be wrong, but I don't recall any marriages taking place at the pavilion, but that's fine. But it was just an example of a kind of things where the question was asked in the context about what's the business model of what you'd go after, and that was sort of a piece of low hanging fruit to suggest, okay, how often it would be to be able to go and do that. And we didn't say, well, we'll never allow weddings to be there. Okay, we said to go on that, but there weren't a lot of other concrete examples, and so that's where the wedding thing sort of became repetitive as a theme.
Well, very good. Any other thoughts?
I just, I mean, because I'm old school, so I
Yeah.
did like, print out some handouts, and it also includes the timeline. We
Oh,
have
great.
been working on this project since 2008. Like, I just want to see us like, continue
Get it
to
done.
move forward and
Yeah.
get it done. Yes.
So what was the final cost? What was the final cost back then?
So the original cost, like when we first started doing this, was $5 million. And then we had an estimate of $7.5 million. Well, and then COVID happened and everything doubled in cost. So, that we're just in this position of, that's just seems to be what has happened.
Yeah.
The city was going to do 7. I think
Yeah.
that was way
Right.
when
Well,
times
here-
were different.
Here's a historical perspective. We spent probably about 14 years ago, $25,000 on a study of the old Lakewood Theater. You may recall that.
I remember.
Yes.
And aghast, the study came back that to renovate the old Lakewood Theater, which is something the community would really love, to bring it back to ADA standards was like 2.1 million, and we all just hit the floor, That today would be 10 million or 12 million, or,
Mhm.
pick a number, right? So I think the point is well taken. the more we delay moving the ball forward, the more expensive it gets.
Yeah, and so we do appreciate the, you know, the support that we've received from the city thus far, and we just really wanna, you know, continue moving forward. And we know it might take some time to get all of the funds that we need to do this project, but as long as we're all on the same page and moving forward, because Partners for Parks would like to still exist after this project.
Right, right.
We would like to still raise money and do great things for the
Right.
city, but if we can't get this project going, like, it's just kind of, we're dead in the water for
Yeah.
future projects too. And we've built some really great relationships with some of like the really heavy hitting donors in our
Mhm.
community, and we would like to maintain those relationships
That
for
would be good.
a downtown park or all of those other things that we want to do as a city, so.
Right. Any challenges with you with Al Hovey not staying on board on the fundraising piece? Or are you guys gonna be okay with that?
Well, we've kind of because we weren't sure where this was going, we've kind of like taken, you know, just a
Step back.
moderate step
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
because I don't want to like raise money for something that we're not sure is going to
Got
happen.
it.
But if we know it's going to happen, we'll get back out there, start pounding the pavement again.
We were sounded for a while there, like we were dead in the water. We were all wondering what we were going to do with monies that had already been donated.
And spent.
And spent. And spent.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so we were a little concerned for a bit.
Got it. Oh, just on.
Yeah, just trying to get some clarification on the next step. So am I safe to say proceed with design, maybe have
Yep.
another touch point at about 60% design?
I think that makes.
Come
good
back
sense.
before for another meeting like this?
Right.
Okay.
My last little pitch, because our next item on the agenda tonight is the lodging tax funding allocation, is just to say, 'cause I won't be here probably the next time you have a touch base. When we receive feedback from the chamber and the Travel Tacoma groups that talked about their desire to see this facility go forward because of the many reasons that they bring people into the community, that is one basis that this facility, multi-use, whatever we call it, can avail itself of lodging tax as a funding mechanism for councilmanic bonding. Other park projects may not, but a facility that is tourism promotion, tourism related, a tourism related facility owned by the city, unlike the McGavick Center, which we probably wouldn't be able to get away with trying to do that today, it qualifies. And so it's something to think about as we move forward. And the McGavick Center payment, you'll see on our next agenda topic, the last payment is this coming year. So that's $101,000 that comes off of the expense side of the ledger for that. And it's something that we can look at as a council, or you can look at as a council down the road. Anything else? Thank you for your work and your perseverance. It matters. Yeah, it does matter. Appreciate it. Yeah. Appreciate it. All right, next, as promised, we have a review of the 2026 lodging tax funding allocations. There's a memo in our packet. And for this, we have our Deputy City Manager, Todd Kraus.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. So as Mayor stated, this starts on page 9. This is the 2026 proposed or recommended lodging tax allocations. So we had 18 proposals plus the McGavick Center, and Mayor mentioned that the last payment for the McGavick Center is in June of 2026. The estimated available balance was $4,143,000, of which a certain portion was restricted for the capital, and the other portion could be used for capital or tourism and promotion. So the applications totaled $1.5 million for the non-capital portion, and the amount that was available was $1,154,000. So all of the proposals were reduced to stay within the allocated or the estimated allocation amount. Included in the capital is the McGavick Center of $101,850, as well as $2 million for the H-Barn project. So that left $302 estimated in the tourism portion or the non-capital portion and 887,000 left in the capital funds. So the recommendation from the Lodging Tax Committee is outlined on page 11. There was a request for clarification on the uses of lodging tax funds for hosting sister cities from a promotional tourism portion. And the clarification we received is that it is not eligible for lodging tax expenditures. So coming before you on November 17th is this recommendation of which the city council will need to reject the LTAX recommendation for sister cities. The city council could also approve all but that and reject any others. But what the city council cannot do is change the dollar amounts within those allocations or add projects. If the city council wanted to have something different than what was recommended outside of rejecting other ones, then we would need to take it back to the Lodging Tax Committee for 45 days prior to council's action. So that's what I have for.
Sure, clarifying questions for Ms. Kraus, Mr. Boki.
What is staff's recommendation? And I read that legal clarification and I think I understand it. So the initial request was 92,000, LTAC recommended 50. And now I see 42 on there. So what is the recommendation for those sister cities?
So the Lakewood Sister Cities is separate than the City of Lakewood's proposal. So the line that you're referencing for 42,000 is the Lakewood Sister Cities Association's request, which is not the promotional tourism.
Okay.
The one that is 92,000 that was reduced down to 50,000 is the city's recommendation or the city's request to host the delegation.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, the 42 is their Summerfest work and
International
Yeah.
Festival,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mr. Brandstetter.
Yeah, so just procedurally, when we get to next week, the agenda bill will have this chart, and then will we need to amend it next week to delete the one line that we've been advised is not legally eligible? Or will the agenda bill have already deleted that line?
Because this is a recommendation from the Lodging Tax Committee, we would need to leave it whole as a Lodging Tax Committee recommendation, then the city council will have to drop
So,
it.
so that we would move to delete a line from the allocations. And as long as we delete the whole line and don't change any of the others, we're okay.
Correct.
And we can't substitute a new item to spend that $50,000. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, other than that, the lodging tax people could come back to us with a supplemental recommendation about how to use that $50,000. Since it's actual real money that's there. Then on the $2 million. Okay, that generally what we have done every year, that we have had a list like this and then people have spent it. And we have told people, and you have to spend it within the allocated year. For instance, the Sister Cities International Festival didn't spend $2,000 of what they were authorized last year, but that $2,000 just goes into the next year's total pot. It doesn't roll over as available to the sister cities again. How is that going to work with that $2 million if we can't spend it in the 2026? I mean, do we have to, or are we going to spend it by transferring it to an account in the city for the H barn?
It'll be a $2 million allocation and it'll be on a reimbursement basis. So the H barn would need to spend that dollars to get it. But the difference is for capital projects, we can roll it over. And so you'll see it on the carry forward budget adjustment in 2027 if the $2 million were not spent. And that's consistent with how we've treated all
Okay.
other capital projects.
So capital project dollars in the LTAC can roll forward.
Yes.
And every recipient of dollars fills out a report at the end of the year about how many visitors did they attract and be able to go and do that. And does that also look different for a capital project than it does for one of the others?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mayor, I think things are pretty straightforward. I don't see any of the allocations that are recommended, with the exception of the one that we can't do, that are not of value to the community.
Thank you. It was challenging because, as Ms. Kraus indicated in her overview, the asks were in excess of the monies we had available, so we had to cull everything down quite a bit to make it work as a committee. Okay, see no further questions. Oh, Mr. Boki.
I just wanted to say, I think this is a really good list. I mean, for the exception, I guess, that we have to fix. I sat in on one or two presentations when you guys were sitting here because I just happened to be in and it was actually the presentation for the Lakewood Playhouse, and the guy was just fantastic. And he brought in a whole group of people, but overall, I think you guys did a really nice job, and it's always difficult to kind of sift through and who's who. But I do think I'm always hopeful that this is really, it's a nice thing to have, and it's grown over the years, and I think we've used it well. And I just want to compliment the committee, and I think I really do respect the work that your group did and the folks that were on there. And it was just the three of you, right?
For that meeting, yeah. The other, we have since appointed a fourth because they always roll out the funders, the managers of the various hotels and motels. So it's always challenging to make sure you keep one or two of them on board. But yeah. Mr. Branstetter.
This past year in 2025, our sister city of Gimhe, while they sent a delegate, they also sent an entertainment group that we then advertised out to attract people to come to the Summerfest. So if was that fall under the things that wouldn't have been legal? Because if we had directly contracted with that K-pop band to come and perform at the Summerfest, it would seem it would have been logical, the fact that we did it as a hosting as opposed to a thing to do that. And if I would just say that when the folks from Gimhe were here, they mentioned perhaps funding a similar group to again come. And that would then be something that if we were going to have some hosting for for entertainers, that we could go back to the LTAC and ask for an allocation to support that rather than the city council members from Gimhe coming.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you'll have that 50,000 back in the pot that you could use for a supplemental review and request.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think there was some thought that the folks from Okinawa may also be looking to provide some entertainers. Last year they provided their entertainers virtually, they sent a virtual video.
Absolutely.
But for our 30th anniversary, we were extending an invitation to all these folks to come, which is why the dollar value was more than what it used to be. Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you, Ms. Kraus. Appreciate the update. I also wanted to thank Dana for really great staff work over the year.
Settlement.
Yeah, she was fabulous, helping out and putting everything together. Next, we have our review of the 2026 fee schedule, and again, Ms. Kraus is in the chair, so we'll keep you there.
Well, this is the annual review of the fee schedule, and we don't really have much by way of changes. They're all related to development services. The first one is the pavement degradation fees, and really this is just to take a lot of information and simplify it. So you still have it measured by the PCI, but just more predictable and just based on an average. The administrative fee, that's just a general housekeeping cleanup item, just to remove some duplication. The expedited plan review is really referencing the correct titles. And that's so that they can apply the correct fees. And then the fourth one is just to remove the last sentence, basically, and to be compliance with our policy. And so that's it for the fee changes. And this will come back to you on November 17th.
Pretty modest for schedule changes. Very good. Any questions of Ms. Kraus? Mr. Brandstetter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And actually, in terms of the proposed changes, I have no questions. They seem to make sense to me. However, I have some questions about changes that are not made. And I guess I'll start by looking at on page 36 of our packet, which is essentially virtually the last page of this over here. And the last item there says McGannick Center Facility Use Rental. And the fee structure is that nonprofit organizations may rent the entire facility for a flat fee of $1,500, and the city's available days for rental use are limited in number per year. That 1,500 has been the fee for a while.
Yeah.
That during the past 5-6 years, Clover Park Technical College has raised their fee schedule for essentially the same thing. For people who are not using city days, that they have raised that going off, because it's there is some things. And I believe that we can raise this fee and still be providing significant savings to nonprofits. It's 9 or 10 a year that take advantage of it. We're in the window for groups to apply, and still be providing a significant savings to those nonprofit groups who wish to use it, that we wish to do that. And but at the same time, I'd say, Clover Park has raised their fees by like 20-some% over since this 1,500 was raised, and maybe even more. I don't know, but it's at least that much of
How much is it a day?
well, the last event that I was involved with that did that, they wanted $3,600 for a full day event, using the whole facility, doing some other things to be able to go and do that. And I would propose that we look at a number to raise this. And the reason why we would want to raise it is that although, we're not operating the facility and doing that this fee directly goes into the Public Arts Fund. And that is is something that is the cost of getting works of public art done is going up. We haven't come up with another repetitive, systemic way of putting money in the public arts fund to do that, because we don't have a tax on people who build buildings that says that you've got to put 5% for public art into your bid or to do that. So, and I really think that we could raise this to 1,800 or even 2,000, and at least it would give us another three to $5,000 more in the public arts fund, which is really what we're trying to fund with this fee, to do that. I mean, when we first did this, and I remember in the early days on the council, deputy mayor and mayor, that there was a fee, okay, and I think it was 1,000 originally, and it just went into the general fund, okay, and then we always were lamenting that there was no money for in the park, and the Arts Commission would come to us and we'd say, well, we'd like you to do things, but we got no money for you. And we were sitting in that back room back there and we finally decided on one budgeting cycle to say, let's budget the McGavick Center fee because it's something that's there. And while it is not huge, it was a significant help to the impoverished Arts Commission at the time. To do that. And I think so that we're at a point of where this fee can still be a significant break from the cost of renting the center directly from Clover Park Technical College. But we can help ourselves out a little bit because public art is a real goal that we have, and that one that we want to fund. And this isn't the end all solution to that, but I think it is a part of that. So I guess I'm somewhere between 1,800 or $2,000 of wanting to put that new fee in there, and we're at a point of where we're asking folks to request to use the center for 2026. So this is the time to do that to them, and we can tell them, and the fee is now for this year.
Maybe we should ask a quick clarifying question of our city clerk, because I know she sent those notices out already with the $1,500 posted fee, I believe, right, for 26?
Correct. The open application period has been opened and published for the month of November.
With that,
But did it say that the fee was $1,500 though? I don't think the application said that.
The application does state that the fee is $1,500 per the administrative policy associated with the rental.
But I don't think that precludes us from changing it and correcting it when we give someone an acceptance and say, the mean old city council's raised the fee.
We preferred less bait and switches. Mr. Boki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I remember, when we first looked at this fee, we were way low, like a fraction of what Clover Park was charging.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it was embarrassing. I mean, because we were so low that it was like, we were like $500 or something, and they were already charging in the thousands. And so we doubled it or something and gave the city managers. So I'm in agreement, but it might be too late for next year, but we certainly should. But I don't know, does our obligation, do our days go away after we're done paying into the 100,000 a year?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Years.
How many?
30 years.
Okay, so we have another 10.
Yeah.
We got a few.
I'd be
years.
supportive of 2,000 for the reasons Mr. Brandstetter indicated and Mr. Boki articulated. It's been low for a number of years. I know the Arts Commission is working on the next piece of public art for the roundabout. Yeah, at Nyanza North. Mr. Lorcella.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just out of curiosity, do you know what it costs the facility to run for a day? relative to what we're at charging. Cause I would think that maybe the initial thought was just trying to break even on it for nonprofits versus trying to get more funds in for things like art.
Yeah.
It was certainly a way to, I mean, going back that many years, it was a way to help the nonprofits put on good events that benefit the community. That was the rationale, as I recall.
Makes sense that that would be the
Yeah.
intent. Do we know how many days it gets rented a year to nonprofits at that rate?
We estimate about 10 days. So the city is given 18 days and we estimate 10 days. Sometimes we get more than that and
So-
sometimes we get less.
So 10 of the city's 18 days
Yeah.
for that purpose.
Yes.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Okay, I don't see a problem with adjusting for inflation for as long as it's been. That probably gets us to that 1,800 to 2,000 range. Do we know when 1,500 was established?
1,500
Long time.
was established a few years ago.
A long time ago, yeah. I'd say at least 5 years now, right? 5 or 6? Yeah.
So just for clarification, and you're looking for that for 26 or 27?
Well,
I was recommending that we do it for 26. We approved the fee schedule like in Novembers all the time. So if we didn't do it for 26, I think it makes sense to do that. And we can tell anybody that applied that the fee has changed based on what we do a week from now. A person is perfectly willing to withdraw their application.
well, I would think that those people have actually submitted applications under the old one. Have you received the full amount of submissions that you typically do, or are you still waiting for stuff to come in?
At this time, we've received 6 applications for use of a 2026 day.
Yeah, I don't think we can go back and tell those people 2,000, but maybe prospectively, if they don't apply by January 1, right, then it would go up to the new fee schedule.
The applications are accepted through the month of November.
No, I think we would do it January 1, 26.
Okay.
And it is what it is. That would be in line with the update to the fee schedule.
Yeah, I think I would recommend anyone who's already applied, obviously what their rate they applied for. And I would step up to 1,800 for 1 year and then 2,000 a year after that, just to scale it up accordingly instead of a large jump from what people are used to.
What's the consensus? We hear 1,800, we hear 2,000. No, we're talking about January 1 of 26 prospectively.
Oh, then you can do.
To be aligned with the fee schedule that's coming back to us for adoption.
Yeah, I would say I'd just go to 2,000 and into 27, and that would just, then you don't have to come back to us and readjust.
The folks who are.
These guys are under the 1,500.
Yeah, they're under
Applied.
15, they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to change it right now.
Just to clarify, so the applications that are due by end of November, does that cover all of 2026?
If they apply.
Right, so then anything,
Cover all days that we allocate.
okay, so in theory,
The fee schedule.
right,
And just like other fees that we're changing,
Yeah,
somebody who was planning on doing that looks at the fee schedule now and they said, well, I expected it to be this thing going on. Well, it changed on January 1st, and these people are applying to do these events in 2026. So if the 2026 fee schedule says 2,000 or says 1,800, okay, and I, to do that, I would say to do that. Or if we could, to get out of this in the middle of the application cycle thing, say, change it to 1,800 for 2026, but in the fee schedule, say, and we'll increase to 2,000 in 2027. We could, I mean, just a sentence, it's not a,
good.
we could do that.
This particular, we do it next year. Yeah, I think that's hard.
okay, so just to clarify, any applications received after November 30th of this year will have to be for 2027 dates. Is that correct?
That's what I was going to ask the question. If we receive 6 of them and if we receive more by November 30th, are we going to honor the 1,500 for the 2026 and anything afterwards for 2026 after the cutoff date will be using the new rate, whether that be 1,800 or 2,000? Is that what I'm hearing? Because I'm kind of hearing mixed.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
So that cutoff date of the 30th.
I guess that's not my intent. My intent is to set a 2026 rate. That's what we're doing with every other fee in this fee schedule, is we're setting a 2026 rate. And I would set a 2026 rate at 1,800, okay, I'm okay with that. And with the idea of going to do that, I think, that's going on. And certainly we're not going to make anybody, if somebody says that that makes a difference to whether they want to use a city day and they'd rather pay 3,600 directly to Pierce College, I'm not, that's fine.
Mr. Mayor, I think we have come out and said that the fee is 1,500. People budget, they allocate, especially a nonprofit, and this is how much that they have allocated. So my preference would be the 2,000 that goes into effect in for the 2027 dates. So
So I'm still looking for clarification.
That would be cleaner.
That would be, so the clarification. Okay, the clarification would be my suggestion, which would be keep the fees as is, because we have put that out there for complete transparency. We don't want to come back now and say, sorry, we're hiking it up. But so everyone else who applies for the next session, which would be effective in 2027, would be for the 2,000 fee.
Rates would change effective even starting after January 1st.
Yes, yeah.
But we wouldn't put that in this
Okay,
particular fee
but we
schedule.
should put it in the fee schedule now,
Yes.
because otherwise a year from now we'll be in the same situation.
Yes.
So I will keep the fee schedule as is, footnote that effective January 1st, 2027, the rate will go up to 2,000. Thank you.
That makes sense. Yeah. Sure, Mr. Lorisella.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to talk about pavement degradation fees.
Pavement.
Which is what we started at the very beginning of this.
Okay.
I just had a question of, with this new fee schedule, does that overall increase or decrease the cost that we're going to be charging folks on average in terms of what we're going to get in revenue?
That I could not answer for you, but we do have our assistant, Planning and Public Works Director, Angie Silva.
Great question. Revenue neutral. It balances out and averages a list of 12 fees into categories of 4.
Very good. It's always good to smooth over pavement degradation fee analysis. Yeah, exactly. Mr. Branstetter.
The one other fee that I was concerned about is, and I've lost the page that it's on, but I'm looking for, but it's a business licensing fee. And it says a business licensing fee that says, let me, it's on, it is on, let me think here.
Page 20.
Page 20, see page 21.
It's at 20. Maybe on 21. There is a fee that says transfer of license fee for catteries and dog kennels. And it says no fee. Okay. So I'm wondering, and nowhere else is there like a other type of transfer of license fee. And so I'm wondering, why is there even, this even in the fee schedule?
Great question. There's probably a historical context why it's there. I couldn't answer it. But if there is no fee, a recommendation by this body is to strike that. And if there's a time where we need to bring that fee forward, we would do so annually every November.
Do we have any outstanding applications for catteries?
Well.
Not
Well, you know, what it is, Mr. Mayor, is that if you want to establish a cattery, there's a business, you have to get a business license. But if you're buying a business, you have to pay a fee to transfer the license to you. So but I agree. I would just like to delete that out of the fee schedule.
Are you kidding? Is it actually in there? Wow. I feel like I'm herding cats in the bag, but I've never had a cattery.
I'm one away.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're one away. Does Tad know that?
He's the problem.
Very good. So we're done with the fee schedule. So we've got our clarification. Thank you for both of you for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Categorical exemption. Okay, that concludes, as I understand it, our not action items for discussion tonight. Those items scheduled for the November 17 meeting are on your agenda packet there. So now we'll turn to reports by our city manager, followed by council comments. Please be mindful, we do have an executive session and it is 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council, I am pleased to say that I have returned without international incident from being abroad, so it win in that column. But did have a a good time in Gimhae, gave the opening remarks at their ceramics festival, toured that festival facility, toured one of their community centers that was built in 2018 that has a multitude of uses, and one of their downtown park facilities in a new residential area. So able to take back some of the things that we're specifically looking at, and had a good time for the brief stay there. Looking ahead throughout the end of the month for different events and activities before council or in the community. November 12th is Downtown Neighborhood Association meeting. November 13th is a Housing Developers Forum. Later that evening is the Lake City Neighborhood Association meeting. On the 18th is United Way Poverty to Possibilities. November 18th is the Fort Steilacoom Neighborhood Association. 19th, Fallen Officer Food Drive, and on the 20th is a Springbrook Neighborhood meeting. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Appreciate that. So let's, in the absence of any questions, let's turn to council comments. Mr. Boki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be quick. I did talk to the city manager earlier today about surface water issues. I know it rained a lot. I know there's a lot of leaves, but I was a little bit concerned that in some of the newer areas, and I think he's going to look into it, that some of the newer areas that we built, like by Hipkins Road, had a big pond, and in front of Custer Elementary School. And I'm not quite understanding that. I'm not an engineer or a water guy, and I'm assuming, but it did concern me that it's in the new stuff. And so just wanted to note that maybe it's just leaves. I do want to follow up on comments that the mayor made, I think last week, regarding the area around 108th and Pacific Highway. It's not a good situation. It really is not, by Maureen Howard Place there. The mayor is correct. I mean, so Maureen Howard doesn't seem to have the problem, but people were sleeping in the garden there on facing 108th Street. So they clearly had just dumped their stuff and maybe didn't get in into Maureen Howard or didn't qualify, but they put their tent up. And then across the street, there was garbage in the 7-Eleven landscaping, just a big pile of garbage. And then a guy, one or two guys either sleeping on the sidewalk or doing, it was the middle of the day. So, and there's a bus stop there, which really doesn't help the bus riders, does it? So I'm here to second your concerns about what's going on there, and Lehigh, is responsibility to try to make sure. And I'm sure they'll push us off and say, well, once they leave the yard, it's not our responsibility. But it is I think it is going to be a problem.
I do my Lakewood 311 sort of approach, at least to the garbage on the.
Well, and maybe someone from the city should reach out to the folks who operate the 7-Eleven to find out if they see it as a problem. I gotta think they do. I mean, I just drove through,
right,
and it was a problem. So, and Lehigh is an experienced organization. They know what they're doing, so they certainly can take care of things. So,
good work. Thanks for going out there. Mr. Lauricella.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following up on Mr. Boki's comments about standing water, one spot that I noticed had a ton of water was under the railroad bridge on Pack Highway. So just south of where you're talking. There was one lane that probably had, a 1.5 feet of water in it over the entire lane. I think it's probably a pump that they used to operate to clean that out, and it wasn't working fast enough. So that was pretty rough. So just another place to look at. I don't have much. I just want to thank all of our presenters, Youth Council, Public Safety Advisory Committee, and Partners for Parks for presenting and hearing our input and providing theirs. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brandstetter.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, in to comment on Mr. Boki's comments about the 108th and the Pacific Highway. I did go by there. I did talk with the folks at the 7-Eleven. It's kind of, they weren't real concerned about it. They said the people weren't in their parking lot and in the front of their store, and so it wasn't impacting their customers, and they do that. But I talked to some of the people who were resting. And discovered that they had been evicted from the Marine Howard space by Lehigh, because Lehigh has rules, and if you don't obey the rules, then you hit the road, and the way you hit the road is you take all your stuff and you go out the door and then wherever. And so that was the issue to do that, and some of the rules had to do with Lehigh looking to convert that to from strictly shelters to doing some conversion into, if you're going to stay long term, you're needing to pay rent in a temporary supportive housing mode to be able to go and do that. So I don't really know, other than there are some people who are there who, in particular in the evening, that are in violation of our ordinance about being on the sidewalk or of storing things on the public property, and that's so that at least is an invitation to have a police officer have a discussion with them. One other thing around affordable housing that came to my attention is that in a number of the nonprofits that have built and are running particularly supportive housing for low-income folks have sent a letter to the Tacoma City Council, and they've asked the Tacoma City Council to make them exempt from the landlord tenant rules around evictions to essentially because they're saying if we can't evict anybody during the winter and we can't evict anybody who has a child during the school year, and a very high percentage of people are not paying rent and and all these folks have debt service to mortgages or whatever. So they're asking the Tacoma City Council to exempt non-profits that running affordable housing from the eviction rules while maintaining all of the eviction tenant landlord rules for other types of landlords. That's something that's gonna come up before the Tacoma City Council next, at their meeting next week. And I noted that two of the signers of that letter, one was Lehigh with the Miriam Howard piece, but LASA also signed that letter. So I don't know that LASA actually has any units in Tacoma, but they may have a couple of individual houses that they own that they're being able to go and do that. But I also would want to make sure that LASA doesn't think that those eviction rules apply in Lakewood, because we haven't passed any ordinance that changed anything from the general state eviction rules. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Very well, thank you. Councilmember Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agree with the surface water comments. I had heard a couple things. So thank you, City Manager too, for looking into all of that. And I brought up something else to City Manager today was because of the construction of Nyanza, there's been a lot of extra traffic and even foot traffic in there. And I saw some things on some of the community pages about, could you please slow down? So I just wanted to remind people, you're cutting through neighborhoods to get around, and I just hope that people watch for the kids, because in the morning it's dark and they're out there for the buses, and I've seen quite a few very close calls there too. So, and that was in the Nyanza kind of Hillcrest area for the cut through. Nyanza Park, yes, thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Be really brief. I did attend the Promise Board meeting on Thursday.
Good.
And the youth council pretty much gave you what they talked about, which was good. And the Lakewood Multicultural Coalition is contributing to our airmen and soldiers $1,000 for turkeys and hams. So the turkeys will be delivered Wednesday, the 20th, whatever day that is, to McCourtfield, and then some are going to be delivered on Camp Murray.
That's great.
So, and so for Christmas, they will all get hams.
Nice.
So, thank you, that's all I have.
Very good. Well, it's been a busy day. I just want to echo the compliments to staff and the presenters tonight. Did a great job. It's always good to have the citizen advisory boards and commission members come to see us once a year. In terms of storm stuff, there's some interesting stormwater issues around the city, you know, some of the new construction, some of the old, and there's that, I know we're gonna reconstruct Mount Tacoma Drive at some point, but there is that dip that goes down. It's always a puddle down there as you're coming toward Interlochen. So, you know, obviously it's nothing to worry about yet. Hopefully the design is coming along, so it's in line to get redone in 2026. In terms of the Nyanza project, I did go over there again slowly. I did drive slowly through there, and I stopped and pulled over and walked out again, and took another look at it. So hopefully we have a plan kind of coming in place, working with the neighbors to figure out what we're doing over in that particular spot where they were chatting about, you know, the lack of foliage. I know we'll wait and see what happens when it's done, but we talked about a few things, possibly using maybe some of our tree canopy, tree fund money to do some sort of right-of-way improvements or beautification, because it is kind of a little park area that we're trying to, as I recall the design, it's been a while since I've seen the design. That inset in there, we're supposed to have some sort of a bench and sitting spot landscaping, so. Yeah, whenever we can get a little update on that, that would be kind of nice, to know. And then Pierce Transit, we had a board meeting today, nothing significant. Again, the board is going to be reviewing the options to go forward with the ballot measure for 2026 on funding. It's most likely they'll come forward at either 3/10 to get them from 6/10 to the full authorized 9/10%. More to follow on that, and I'll keep you in the loop. Other than that, we are now going to recess into executive session for approximately 25 minutes pursuant to RCW 423110 sub 1 sub I to discuss with legal counsel representing the city litigation or potential litigation to which the city, the governing body, or a member acting in official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse consequence or financial consequence to the city. And we will take no action. We'll come back out and adjourn after our executive session. So we will now be in recess.